Hello and welcome to the 38th episode of the Dojo Kun Shill Shack. Those of you who are here live, we appreciate you being a part of the show. Those that watch on the replay, thanks for coming back after, watching probably the streams like the pontificators or the professionals. There's some big streams going on tonight, but thank you for being here. My co-host tonight is a returning co-host. Glad to have him back. It's Smiling Bandito. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Hail and well met. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. Excited about this show. We've got a lot of great guests lined up.
Certainly.
And I appreciate the fact, Smiling Bandito, that you want to come back to co-host once a month with me. I think that's kind of a really neat regular part of the show that you're back at. Always got some great questions. So I appreciate you being a part of the show now and then.
Oh, it's a great time. I thoroughly enjoy it. So I wouldn't be coming back if I didn't.
Well, I appreciate that. Excellent. So tonight what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a Kickstarter campaign, and this campaign is for a book called Designated. The creators that are with us are Mark Torres from ItCameFromTheRadio and Peter Palmiotti. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing well.
Hello. Doing good.
Thanks, guys, for being with us and talking about your campaign. I was telling the guys before the show started that rather than go through every bit of the campaign like I used to do or sometimes do, what I'd really like to talk about are the creators themselves, and the catalyst or inspiration for the book. So we'll get into that too. I mean, we'll take a look at the campaign a little bit. I'll bring it up on screen. But the first thing I want to talk about is tell me, Mark, we'll start with you, about bringing the creative team together.
So that's actually over 30 years the creative team came together.
Really?
So, yes, I wrote the story about 30 years ago, and a friend of mine from high school, his younger brother, was like, I'll draw it. So I wrote 110-page story, 5 issues. I wrote it as 5 issues, but it was a 110-page story. Okay. He was like, I'll draw it. So about...
As we do when we're kids, right? We're just like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do this.
He drew it, I'd say, about 26 years ago or so, give or take. And it took him about 2 to 3 years to finish it. And then after that was done, I had him go back and redraw some of the earlier pages because his ability got better as he was doing over the years of work. And 100 pages.
Also, what tend to happen when we're kids.
So then he did that, and then about 20 years later, I ran to Pete, so Pete can tell his part of the story.
Yeah, I met Mark at a small New York convention in the basement of a church, and went up to him, and he was showing off his project. He had pages of art with him, and I was looking at that, and I was really like the style. So he gave me a script, and I took that home and read the entire story, and was really impressed with the quality of it. Also, the fact that it's a beginning, middle, and end. You don't get that often. I called him up and said, yeah, I want to be a part of this. That's all it took.
That's great. So, Mark, did you then decide to have Peter redraw the whole thing?
Well, Pete's the inker, so he was just inking the entire pages. Yeah. So he inked everything. He inked the first 22 pages, and then he was starting on the other pages. And then, as I like to say, the short version is you meet people who you have deals, promises are made, promises are not kept. As things are going up, things go down, life gets in the way, people die, all that kind of stuff happens. And then 30 years later.
It's starting to sound like there's a lot more to this story in the 30 years than what you've just relayed in the last 10 minutes.
Yes, there is.
Wow.
There's some tragedies. Some people are dying now. I mean, that's not where we started.
That's the story that you tell at the dinner after the convention.
Right.
It's not the story you tell on the air.
A couple adult beverages.
So
when no one's going to remember it afterwards. Gotcha.
Yes. So one of the publishers I ran into is Mariano Nicieza, Sabian's brother, most famous for doing co-creating Deadpool. He has a publishing company, and this is a couple of years back. And then the pandemic hit, and then Kickstarter and crowdfunding went all crazy. And he's like, "Hey, I know you've been trying to get this book done. Let's go through the Kickstarter route." And I was like, "Okay, you're the publisher. Sure, I'm just a writer. Let's get it done. Let's go."
Yeah.
So we started looking into it, did the research and what have you. And then about 4 months ago, we had a difference of opinion on how to run the Kickstarter campaign. So we parted ways. So amicable split. Mariano and I still have a good professional relationship. And he's like, you do you, I'll do me, we're fine. So then the question became, can I do it myself? Obviously, all these years, I had never intended to do it myself. I was like, maybe in the very beginning, I could do it myself, but then I realized that that's not a possibility because, you need money. And me being poor, don't have money. So you have to go through a publisher. And so now the question is, can we do it? So we asked around. Pete was like, he's willing, he's in it. He's in for, he's in it for the all the way to the beginning.
How did you get in touch with Pete? Have you guys always known each other? Or?
Well, no. Like Pete said, I met him 20 years ago at a convention. I was looking for an inker at a time. And I had the pencils, and I was like, I need an inker, because that's what you do. When back then you thought, oh, you just make a comic. No, you need a penciler, you need an inker, you need all these little things that no one tells you that you need. So
and all the hats that you have to wear even if you get a team together as the creator, you still have a bunch of hats to wear. You've got to be the marketer, you've got to be the professional cat herder with all of these creatives that you bring on your staff. You got to be the person who gets the print file together. There's so much to do that they don't warn you about.
Some cats are more well behaved than others. Hopefully,
yes.
Hopefully Peter is one of the better behaved ones.
Well, guys, before we go on with the story, let's go ahead and bring Adam on the show. He's joined us. He'll, of course, I'm sure he'll have some input, and he will, listen to what's going on with Designated.
Yeah. Hey, sorry guys, I was running a few minutes late. It's the life of TV production.
Oh, no problem.
No worries. If it's the worst thing that happens today, we're doing okay.
Yeah, right. I can roll with it.
Welcome.
Okay,
but I'll let you guys keep talking. You're talking Designated right now, so tear it up here. But yes, cat herding is involved.
Of course it is, yeah. So tell us more, Mark.
So then it became a point as to I just need a letterer, colorist, because it was decided that the book's going to be in color. Originally, the book was going to be in black and white. We were going back and forth over the years. If we're going to do single issues, we're going to do trade, we're going to be graphic novel, whatever. But the thing is that the story was there, the pencils were there, inks were partially done back then. So it's just, it's almost ready. And so I found a letterer, I found the colorist, and then the most important thing, which I've stressed on every single one of these live streams, is my graphic designer. Without her, none of this would have happened. Like 4 months ago, she is the one. She's a interior designer by trade, and she's a teacher. She teaches graphic arts and design, and she also happens to be the editor for my radio show. So I was telling her my woes, and she's like, "I could probably do that." I was like, "Really?" And so I was like, "How much?" And she was like, "I will do the super cheap thing," because she lives in the Philippines, and as I'm sure you guys are well aware, you get really good, really cheap work outside of the continental United States. So
yes, absolutely.
Because she was affordable and because she was talented enough, then we're like, let's do it. And she designed everything on the page, and she designed some things that you didn't even think you needed a graphic designer for, like the logo of your comic.
Behind every great man is usually a woman pointing and laughing, but also keeping the ship steered right.
Yes.
So that's great to hear that she contributed so much. That's awesome. Now, do you also have an editor, Mark?
So that's one of the things. We had an editor at one point in time. So I was telling you about Mariano. When we were going to go through him, all the scripts had to be transferred from a physical paper, because I typed it on the word processor. I had to type it digitally, and I had to send it to their editor. and they just redlined everything
okay.
about the dialogue and changes of that sort. But he really couldn't do too much because the pencils were already done, and I haven't spoken to the artist in years. I've lost touch. I don't know. So the story is the story's gonna be. So you really can't do much to change it, but the dialogue can change. Punctuations, that kind of editing stuff.
Yeah, and you could make some things concise or change the voice of a character to make sure they sound the same throughout. Okay.
Exactly. That kind of stuff was addressed. And so we took that, and that's the edited version that I have now. What's interesting is that it was suggested by Mariano. He was like, hey, don't they have superhero costumes and they can wear costumes? And I'm like, the book's already done. I can't change it to put costumes on. And besides the fact that the story doesn't fit them wearing costumes, but that was just a whole other thing. Like, his suggestion was give them costumes. I'm like, that can't be done. It's already done. It's like if you had a movie and you filmed the principal, but you didn't have the CG effects, and then you've been shopping for years and years and years to get this movie out, but the filming is done, the acting is done, everything's already done, so you really can't change too much because the foundation is already there.
But it's also the story takes place mostly within a day.
That's true too, yeah.
You can make a costume by nightfall.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, if it's that kind of a time lapse where it happens within a single day, like the TV show 24 or something, you can't. They're not going to take the time to do all of that and come back out on the porch. Now I'm so and so.
It's funny you mentioned that, Pete. It reminded me of the Batman with Mr. Freeze. Do you remember that one? The movie Batman with Mr. Freeze that they had Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger, yes.
Yeah. So there was a point in that movie where they were against the time clock that he was going to shoot the thing to freeze something or other, and they had time to go home and change their outfits into the freeze anti-freeze stuff, and then they came back. I was like, when did they have time to do that?
You always have time for nipple suits.
Those famously critiqued nipple suits. Yep.
So exactly, the most of the story takes place in a day. There are flashbacks, but the bare bones is a day.
Okay. So what can you tell us about the story without being too spoilery?
I guess because it's such a subdued, small story, I can pretty much say the whole thing. Like, there's some warring alien races. They're fighting over this gem. The good aliens find their way to the planet Earth. This is, once again, the beginning of the story. And because of that war and them trying to hide the crystals from the bad guys, they find out that they can implant it into the brains of the humans. And because of which it gives them abilities. And most of the story takes place when the bad guys find out where the good guys are, and they come, and then stuff happens. And that's it. That's the whole story.
I always figured that the way I would get superpowers is by a gem being implanted in my brain. So this definitely works out.
That is something new. I have not heard that kind of thing before. I've heard, gems implanted in your chest or on your forehead or stuff like that, but in the brain. So does that have any adverse effects on those same characters?
So it's funny you mentioned that. It does not have an adverse effect on the humans, but it had an adverse effect on the aliens, which is why they decided to go for the humans.
Oh, okay. So we turn out to be better soil for their planting.
Exactly.
So what level of powers would you say this imbues on these humans? Is it something like maybe a Captain America level where it's peak human strength, or is it much higher than that?
So it's actually, one of them has that sort of kind of, but it's very, once again, subdued and very low key. Because when I wrote the story, it was the 90s, and I wanted to do something against type. So in the 90s, if you remember, comics where everything was explosions and crazy and over the top, and image was the thing. Everything was all flash and no substance. So I was like, let me make a small little story about these people getting abilities. And then it was, what kind of abilities would they get? And I was like, I can tie them into all mind stuff, and that's why it's implanted in their mind. So we have one character. He has upper limit human strength, speed, and endurance, but only when under duress. So, for example, as many of us has done, when you're trying to catch a bus or a train, but he, because he's under duress and trying to catch it, he'll actually be able to run faster. He doesn't realize it, and nothing's ever explained because that's not how things actually happen. If you actually get a power, no one's going to sit there and say, well, you can do this and you can do that. And even if you had a power, you wouldn't know exactly what your powers are because you wouldn't know the extent of your abilities. I was just saying on the last stream, like if you have the ability to be super strong and have the ability to breathe underwater, at no point in time are you going to be like, well, let me go stick my head underwater, see how long I can breathe underwater. You just don't.
Are you kidding? You didn't try to do that when you were a kid?
No.
How long can I hold my breath?
So
I bet I can hold my breath longer than you can underwater.
So it's kind of those things that you don't think of that you would do. So I kind of just made it not talking down to the audience, just kind of this is what sort of happens. Now I know exactly what powers they have, what they can't do, but they don't know, and it's not explained to them. And so you kind of just have to kind of figure it out because that's the kind of story it is. It doesn't talk down to the audience.
Nice.
Okay, great. Yeah, I like that. You, of course, are omnipresent in the story. You know everything that happens and is going to happen, and even perhaps even some things that are tangential to the story that we don't see, but they affect the story. And those kinds of things are, something that a good editor watches for, to make sure that the author isn't making assumptions that the reader will know when in fact it hasn't been explained. So I like the fact that the reader is going to discover these things with the characters. That's a good move. It also, that sort of thing also happens, maybe not to all the characters, but like in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, Harry doesn't know much of anything as he's going through his, discovery of who he is and what he can do. It's not until he's told by people around him, and a part of the frustration as a viewer is, why doesn't he know that? Or I want to know too. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, so that's kind of, it sounds like what you're alluding to is we're going to discover as they discover these things, what they can do. And that's exciting because it's a learning adventure too. Would you say that this is a hero's journey? I heard that it's beginning, middle, end. So that's good. But do you take them on the hero's journey?
I would say no, because like I said, stuff just kind of happens in a day. They're there. They have these gems in their heads which they don't know they have. They have abilities and powers which they don't know they have. And aliens show up to try and get them. And like, let me get the hell out of here. That's the story. Like I said, it's a very small, contained story. There's no,
But it's 110 pages.
110 pages. The Kickstarter is for the first 22. But the 110 pages are written. It's drawn way back when. So the story is done.
So would you then say that the first 22 pages contain one story arc? Or will it be sort of like a cliffhanger where, now, of course, you need to wait and number 2 will come out soon?
It is a cliffhanger. The way I originally wrote it, like I said, I wrote it as a 5-chapter story. Yes. So I ended each chapter with a cliffhanger. Issue 1, 2, 3, and 4 had a cliffhanger. And then I tied it up in issue 5. But like I said, it's very small. And the story is already written. So if we fund, then issue 2 is ready to go. Issue 3 is ready to go because it's mostly there as it stands. It's not like I'm gonna make it up. All right, so now great, we got the funding for the first one. Now what am I gonna do? No, it's already there. It's sitting right there. The pages, Pete has the pages. He's working on the pages right now.
Where are you in your campaign right now? What is it? The first month or second month?
We are now with 5 days left
to the end of the end.
Yes, the end of the end. We're on Kickstarter, so it's not. I didn't know about the whole 60-day thing with Indiegogo to get to 30 and 30, but I was kind of leaning towards. Actually, I was kind of leaning towards going to Zoop first, but then I kind of settled on Kickstarter because that just seemed the easier of the two for me because I have no idea what I was doing, and the graphic designer was able to work with me to get it all that done.
Yeah, until you're into the community, you don't really know exactly where everybody is resting or where the eyes are really going for all of these projects.
Right.
So
have you?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, have you considered going to Indiegogo after this, if it does or doesn't?
Probably. I'm thinking about it more now because we're getting close, and we're like, maybe. But just the promotional part was very taxing. Like Pete and I did so many live streams. Like this is 24 days in. Yeah. We've done over 24 streams, easy.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do I
want to go do that again?
When I showed Siamese, I was on 80 shows. I kept track of those shows and I kept them in a spreadsheet. that I put on my website that's called CG Guide, like the TV guide that you used to get. So the CG Guide will show you all of the shows that I was on, plus a whole bunch more who have contacted me to add their shows to the guide. But yeah, you're right. The grind is definitely, it's a lot of work. Some of it's fun, some of it's repetitive, but at the same time, the more eyes you get on the project, the better a chance you have. So now with 5 days left, you've got, let's see, 4,231 of a 6,126 goal. Is that right?
Yep. 6,128.
128. That's an odd number. What is that, because of a foreign currency exchange, or what was that number?
So the idea was, number one, what did I actually need to fund this project? So that was number one. So I did all the numbers, and all the people I've spoken to, they said, do not underestimate the shipping, do not underestimate the fees, do not underestimate the printing.
Yeah, you have no idea how much tape you're going to need.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So I had those numbers, and then it was how much is for the colorist, how much for the letterer, and that number was kind of almost what I got. And then, because I worked for retail for 20 years, I worked 10 years at Blockbuster, from a peon all the way up to a manager, and then at a movie theater as a peon all the way up to manager. I know that you want to have something different to your eyes can catch it. So I made it pretty much exactly what I need, because if you're scrolling through, it'll be 6,100, 6,200, 6,000, whatever. But then 6,128, it'll stop for that half a second, and maybe that half a second will make you engage to look at the project.
Okay, cool. That's a good marketing tool. I hadn't even thought about that.
We don't need to go into it right this second, but don't take off after the show, and I'll give you a couple tips as to what you can do with all of the shows that you've already been on, in order to kind of get you a little bit more recognition.
Cool, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be a big help. Yeah. So, is there any part of the campaign in particular that you'd like to draw attention to?
I guess the biggest thing I would like to mention is the cover. That it's gonna sort of kind of look like that. That was originally commissioned, I think it was 2007, by a Babe artist, Francesco. He is most famous for doing Savage She Dragon for Image Comics.
Okay, yeah.
And this is the only time he has ever been inked by anybody else. This is Pete's working over him, or his pencils, because Francesco only did digital at the time. Back then, he still does only digital now. And he tells me that he wants to retweak it just a little bit, like an updated feel, because this was 2007, where 2022. He said he wants to tweak it, so it's gonna kind of sort of look like that, but not exactly. But yeah, that's one of the things. And also, as I was mentioning, my graphic designer, even that little logo at the bottom left-hand corner, she did that. Pete inked that. Like, those are things that you don't even think to know that you need.
Right.
And even the placement of the names of who's doing the book, she was the one that told me this. And now that she told me, I see it instantly. But the two of those names are over the girl's boobs, and she did that on purpose.
Because the eye's going to be drawn there anyway, right?
So I was like, those small little things you just do not know you need until you get to that point. And so she designed all that, and she designed the entire page. So she did an amazing, amazing job.
She did do a great job, and I like the logo in its simplicity. First of all, the color of the logo pops, which is good because it's got a blue and brown background, so the yellow pops. But also, the font is just I don't know. I think I like it because of its simplicity.
Yeah,
it's like impact font from space.
Right. So I see that there is a trailer up there at the top. Do you want me to go ahead and play that before we get to the other campaign?
Sure. I mean, basically just me telling the story and showing a whole bunch of pages to prove that the pages actually exist. But yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Yeah, you know what? That's actually
it?
Great. Yeah, how long is it?
2 minutes.
How long?
Yeah.
2 minutes. Perfect.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Yappa Toy, and welcome to the Designated Kickstarter promotional video. This is your narrator, as well as the creator of Designated, Mark Torres speaking. As we scroll through some pages, penciled by Jade Smith, with inks by Marvel and DC's very own Peter Palmiotti, with a cover by Babe artist Francesco, also inked by Peter Palmiotti, I will tell you a little bit about the book. Designated is a 5-issue miniseries that tells the tale of 2 warring alien races, the peace-loving Forlons and the warlike Duronians fighting over a newly discovered power source, the Capricious Star. This war finds its way to Earth, and our 5 heroes, Natasha, Kelly, Chris, Adam, and his younger brother Ed, not only wind up caught in the middle, but each gaining powers as a result. Designated has been a passion project of mine for almost 30 years. It is a full and complete story, over the 5-part series that is, and all 110 pages have already been written and penciled. With your support, you can help us get issue 1 colored, printed, and sent directly to you. Now, what Kickstarter campaign would be complete without perks? Not this one. We have a few items, such as digital and physical copies of the book, trading cards, original artwork, and few high-end collectors out there, custom-made 5 and 6-inch clay figurines as the main characters by clay sculptor Shadow Rabbit. You can see more of his finished stuff at www.shadowrabbitart.com. As I have said countless times on my syndicated radio show, It Came From Radio, which can be heard on both terrestrial and online radio stations, as well as on over 40 different podcast places. If you're unable to financially support this project, like and share it on your social media platforms. Maybe someone else you wouldn't even know about it will be able to help and be part of making this book a reality.
Very simple, straightforward.
We are back. Yeah, right. So, everybody watching, listening, please give this a chance. Go back this book. We'd really like to see it happen. I see they're at 69%. They've got 5 more days. This is definitely doable. So get on here and click back this project. I'm going to go back to StreamYard now. I'm going to remove that. And then what I'll do is I'm going to bring Adam up here. Let's see if this works. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Adam, why don't you start to walk us through the campaign rather than go through.
Gotta unmute yourself first, though.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget to do that.
Sorry there, guys. I've been on mute saying stuff like a dummy.
Yeah. I see you whispering in the background. I don't know if you're cursing at us or applauding the book.
Go back this book. Go back this book. No, I know. I backed, other people's campaigns. I'm certainly over 200 of other people's campaigns,
nice.
And probably about maybe getting to close to 3 now. But it's been awesome to support other indie creators. It's a cool thing. It's fun to be it. I make television for a living, and I love it. But this space is sometimes more fun to play in because I don't quite have the same bureaucracy that I deal with it at CW or at Netflix. So the Exiled is my collaboration with Wesley Snipes. It's awesome. If you saw last night on the stream with Dan Fraga, Wesley, I even got him to come on the stream here and hang out with us folks. And he was a great way to intro this. We launched it once on Kickstarter, but for its initial launch, and that was cool because my 2 partners on it, Wes and another guy named Keith Aram, they didn't even know what Indiegogo was. Even though I love that Indiegogo platform, I think I prefer it. I've done 3 other books on it. But anyways, they just didn't even I couldn't sell them on it because they were like, I've never even heard of this. How will anyone else know? But which is not necessarily true. I think there's plenty of people who like it. But anyways, we dropped last night. So we did an exclusive experience with this. We did with Rob Willis. Did this awesome cover that's just Indiegogo exclusive. Preston Acevedo did a beautiful heavy metal looking print for it.
Beautiful.
And then this T-shirt, right? And then this T-shirt
yes.
over at Red Valkyrie that she made. That's all exclusive just to this campaign. So this campaign is really about back to the true fans who were there from the beginning with me, working on these last 3 books before this. And it's a way to bring it all down. But it's been exciting because Wes and Keith and I got together early last year, wanted to do a comic book. And Keith and I had this comic book, imagine 14 years ago at Radical Comics. If you could ever remember when that was. That movie Hercules and Oblivion were based on their comics.
Okay.
And at that time, Wesley Snipes actually had a book with him called After Dark with Antoine Fuqua. And, and we had, anyway, so if you can imagine, that's where the big incubation of this story began, was 14 years ago. And then last year, Wes was saying, hey, I wanted to do a comic book. And so we pitched out, or I say Keith pitched out the initial hook on the Exiled. And then he brought me to the table. And between the three of us, we fleshed it out into what is this sci-fi epic noir tale of a hard-boiled detective pursuing a serial killer 5,000 years in the makings. And I say it's Seven meets Blade Runner. I should say Wesley says it's Seven meets Blade Runner, because it begins as a serial killer experience with these complex, almost clue-like mysteries that then, as they become unraveled, the murderer, it actually unraveled the paradigm of the whole world. So it's rad book. It's huge, where it's 140 pages. This is the size that it will be. In fact, it'll kind of mimic this printing size. So if you can imagine, here's standard comic.
Wow, that's much larger. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 8.5 by 13. So it's a huge book, and it will be soft cover like this, but with a sewn binding and a ribbon and a double layered cover. So it'll be this big, huge, fun experience that you only get it this way. No matter where it appears down the line, this will be the only way. And to help make it that way, we actually embedded in the book secret codes that are going to unlock digital collectibles.
Really? That sounds awesome.
Right? So it's like this book will end up in retail next year. A publisher came on board here in the last little bit. But the people back here will be the only one who will get that digital collectible, that will get the code in the book, that will get this oversized book. And then we also did a manga-sized version of the book. So if you can imagine, you can read it these two ways.
I saw that on the campaign page where it says it's the Go version.
Right, it's the Go version, because that's one thing I love about a manga book, right? Is you take this bad boy, you throw it in your backpack, you go, and there is that feeling. And so it's got red edges on it, right? And it's a gray tone version of the book, shrunk down, to pass to a friend, to read yourself. It's another beautiful way. And if you can see, we did an ash can for San Diego Comic-Con. My partner on the book, Keith Aram, has a booth there every year for he does video game production. And so we kind of invaded that booth to promote this.
All right.
And so we did these San Diego ash cans, right? And so you can see what those gray tone pages
you know what? Let me embiggen you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is cool. Beautiful. This is the foil cover. They only printed 100 of these guys, or 150. And whatnot. If you can imagine, people were buying them on the floor from us at the convention.
Of course.
For $250. One of them even went for $425 on the auction sites. But Preston Acevedo's cover, this cool foil, San Diego exclusive. But inside, you can see what the gray tones will look like, right? And this is the first 20 pages of the story. You can see this beautiful line art by Eskivo.
Preston's amazing. He does amazing work.
Right. Preston does something else when he's painting. And this is a traditional paint, by the way. It's not a digital paint. This is all the real thing. Created something really special. And that's with the gray tone version of the book. We also had a black and white printing of the ash can at Comic-Con, which is really fun. And Rob Willis also did a cover for us for that.
I've seen that cover. Yeah, that's amazing. Yep.
Just a beautiful, epic cover, which I cannot confirm or deny may end up the retail cover, but color. Confirm or deny. But yeah, so those went out. So that's what the gray tone book looks like. And so I wanted to give people something that felt like Christmas when you got it, right? I remember the very first Indiegogo book I backed. It was this book called Jawbreakers, and it showed up, and it was just in an envelope, like a padded envelope with nothing else, and it was a trade paperback. And nothing against the creator of it; he did a great job, and they worked hard. But it was I could have just bought this at the comic book shop, right?
Right.
But I didn't have to wait a year, and so. And so if there was a way to make it, I kind of always felt that in my campaigns, how do you make it feel like it was a little worth the wait, right? And so that's what we wanted to create with this. So if you can imagine, in the final performance of it, it'll be like this, because we have we have a third book that's actually a different story called The Forgotten Wars, which deals with this ancient element that ties into the mystery of the Exiled. Jason Krager is doing the art for it, who did my book, The Kill Journal. So it's a rad thing, and it was my way to also bring my time in Hollywood to my indie creators, right? Like, my artist is Eskivo, who is a 23-year-old kid from Orlando, who he did this Ashcan book for me, and it's like they were like, "Hey, Adam, what about going to Paul Pope?" And then I said, "Well, how about we go to somebody fresh, right?" And so it's like the art, the covers, the colorist is this great colorist out of Italy. That was my chance to kind of bring Hollywood to us, right, to the indie guys, right, by keeping it all indie creators, Preston, these artists who are not necessarily doing mainstream books,
right,
but should be. Oh my goodness, yeah,
right. But are amazing, and got to work with a mainstream piece of talent like Wes, right?
Well, it seems to have been a perfect pairing, because I mean, the crowd here seems to have welcomed you guys in. Everyone seems to be super happy that you guys are a part of this community, and I mean, you guys are bringing in like, I don't know, 6,000 a day or something like that.
We did good. We did really good. I mean, on Indiegogo, on Kickstarter, we did about 142. But we also did ads, and we had paid ads. We had a publicist. We went all in, So
heavy on the marketing.
So far in promoting it, we're trying to like get ourselves still back out of it, But it's been great. But here on Indiegogo, we had a great, day one. We did about 10 day one, or a little less than 10 day one, and it's still going great. Another, and so it's really cool. And this has just been the raw, just myself and past fans and this rad community.
We're seeing you guys going around to the different shows and stuff, and I don't know if you know all the shows to go to. Dojo Kun has a list, the largest collected list of shows to get eyes on your book. So
yes, I call it the CG guide. So it's on my website. I'll provide you the link to my website, Adam, after the show, and you can have a look at a lot of the shows that are available to go around and talk about your book.
No, it's been great. I appreciate that. I reached out to, Michael Bancroft and also Mandy Summers. I'm going to be on, and they're both awesome. I backed a lot of their books.
I was on Bancroft's show. I was his co-host back when he only had 6 people watching.
Oh, yes. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and on Bancroft's show was where I launched my current book, Projectile Reptile, about 2 weeks ago. 2.5 weeks ago.
How did I miss that? Because I've seen you on so many, lots of chats and Projectile Reptile. Well, I got to do that.
I will.
Is it on Indiegogo right now?
Yeah, it's on Indiegogo, and I'll be showing the trailer as our outro today.
Okay, please.
So you get a chance to have a look at that. We'll do that in just a little while here. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Adam, is you talked about getting together with the other 2 guys to create this. So that sounds like this isn't just Wesley's name on this book. He had more involvement than that, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. No, so this has been, it started out with Wesley saying to Keith, "I want to do a comic book." Keith said, "Oh, wait, Adam and I had this idea. You got to give a quick hook about what our story is about." Uh-huh. And Wes said, "Oh, that could be cool." Then the 3 of us got together and churned it around. And then creatively throughout the process, it's showing pages to Wes, talking story. He had a lot of input early on, especially in the design work, the nature of the character, his story arc. Detective Niles Roach Washington is the character that is
right,
or the embodiment of Wesley without necessarily trying to be him per se.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's his embodiment for sure. And he had a lot of input on like his character arc, his setup, his struggles, and he, because he's thinking about it through the eyes of being an actor, and if he had to play the role, right, and had to be the role, and so there's something to that that he really helped elevate that. And then you can see in the video on our Indiegogo, it's Wes is opening it, right? He's pitching it, not me.
And nobody imbues character into somebody like that other than Wesley Snipes. I mean, like, it's so iconic, and the guy has done everything. I mean, he's been all over the map with his acting. But when he puts his thumbprint on something, it is 100% unmistakable.
No, there's no question. We were just talking about, last night on Dan Fraga's show, and it's like, we're thinking about, like, he did the music video for Bad, right? Back with Michael Jackson, with Martin Scorsese directing, right?
Quincy Jones producing.
Quincy Jones, yes, producing. Like, think about that history, right? Like, the soap operas he was in when he was a kid. You think about not only just the Blade franchise, which is kind of like his opus in regards to, like, popular fandom, but think about, like, White Men Can't Jump, Passion.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. New Jack City, that was kind of like when I was a teenager, and I first remember seeing that movie poster. I'm like, who is this, right? And he's somebody that has been, I looked up to as a kid, wanted to be, you know what I mean? And his legacy. He did Tu Wong Fu, remember, with Patrick Swayze?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just Patrick Swayze's, would have been Patrick Swayze's birthday just here recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, it was my
yeah.
That's so Patrick Swayze's birthday, and Wes even made a little nice post about it. He says he hopes that Wi-Fi gets to happen. And so it's really sort of a special thing to be working with somebody with that kind of legacy behind them, and just who he is. And so here it is. You can see the cover that's there. This is the Indiegogo exclusive. If you kind of scroll down there, Dojo, you can see it. Or
okay, yep. Let me jump over to that. Sorry, there's so many windows. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, you can see. So these are the two cover options. The blue one is the Indiegogo exclusive, and the one on the left is this red original cover that was did for Kickstarter. That's by the interior artist Eskivo, and then Rob Willis did this Indiegogo exclusive. And then you can see if this is, Wesley's return to comics. He After Dark was, I guess it's 14 years ago. And so this is his return. And you can see here is Roach Washington. These great colors by Valentina Bianconi. She's really elevated this. This is one of my favorite pages that became the shirt. So you should get the shirt. It's an add-on. Add it to any tier. But this is, go ahead.
This definitely has a Frank Miller vibe right here.
There's no question. I said, when Eskivo and I were talking, and Peter, I'm sure as an artist, you're seeing it. It's like as we were thinking about this page, it's this passage of time. It's a 1 year later moment. It's a chapter break, and it's like, how do we captivate? One is, who is Wes? He's kind of an exiled solo warrior, in himself, and who's this character? And we kept looking at the images from Marv, right, in the rain from Sin City, and it was just like, how do we make that our own? Not like we're trying to rip it off because that's Frank and only he does that. But
how do you capture that mood that he had established?
That's right, and say, hey, in a way to say, pay it back to Frank. And so that's and so this is our detective, and this is his partner, and these crimes, these victims have missing spines, and
dang,
and the missing spine also is not only just the element of the murder, but it is the it ties into the twist in the story.
Oh, yeah, that's a bad day to have that missing.
Very bad day. Very, very bad day for this guy.
Well, I don't know. We have gems being harvested out of humans that they've been smuggled on from one comic, and now we're getting to spines that are apparently being harvested from other bodies. It's been quite a show.
Yeah, it's been quite the show, right? So,
hey, Adam, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You said there was a mystery involved in this. When you're creating the story, do you make the mystery first and then work around it, or do you work around it and then put a mystery in?
Yeah, so in this story, the mystery was what became the story. Like, it was the hook of what the mystery is that then spooled into characters.
The case of the missing spines.
The case of the missing spines, yes. But that's a good question, because sometimes it starts the other way around, right? Sometimes you start with characters or a setting, and then it transforms into that. But this way, it started with the hook. And then these are cool trading cards that we unlocked on Kickstarter that everybody who backs on Indiegogo will get. There are some of the rad artists in our community here. Clayton Barton did one, and also
Nice.
Rennie Draws did one. It's really cool
Nice.
artist. Pyro Cannon, who did that comic book Beef Bros. And then Yoren down here, of the sexy girl here with the gun. He did my first book, The Eighth. And then this is a big internet person. This guy Rock Art up there did that one of Roach. He reached out to us and said he wanted to do he did a whole video about making it. But so this packet comes in. It's not a stretch goal. It just comes in with this experience.
Wow.
And there's also a metal bookmark that Phoenix is doing that comes with it. It's all part of the package. Because this is a short 15-day run to hit our Indiegogo fans, and then it goes away. It's I'm not trying to sort of like milk it, if you will, but it's a chance to get in.
I think it's fantastic. I've actually been following Wesley on Twitter for a really long time.
Okay.
Well over like 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And one of the things that he said a long time ago was, if you're always being hateful towards others, you'll never be great. The universe does not reward bad energy. You get what you give. And you guys have given so much to this community. You have pulled talent from people, given them opportunities that they might not have gotten. You're definitely reaching out to every single corner, which is fantastic. And I guarantee that it's going to give back. So everyone is excited to see you guys being a part of what we're doing. And we only want to be more a part of what you guys are doing. So
absolutely, yep.
It's much appreciated, because I think that I think Wes is saying it best, right? It's like this is an opportunity for us to build bridges, right? Like
absolutely.
I think what's happening maybe in some of the walks of comic life, people are burning bridges and building walls, right?
You don't say.
and for reasons you can't even explain, right? Like you can't.
Indeed.
Is that not even because they're not rational reasons? They're much more nuanced.
Yes.
They're maybe power, or control, or insecurity, whatever may be in it. And it's kind of shocking to me some days, right? That it's like, how is this a fight? Remember, this is a tiny industry. Like this isn't. This isn't tech. This isn't like, hi guys, we're having a fight here between Google and Facebook. This is not that. This is like people selling stuff out of their garage, in a fight, and departments at like Fortune 500 companies. It's like, guys, your characters are on the side of the AT&T cable guy's van. You're not punk rock. You're not those guys either. So it's just so odd that it's kind of like kicking down in an odd way. That is, I can't explain it because it doesn't make sense.
Well, the craziness of it is not kicking down, because we're all just kind of people doing. Right. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to get through our day, right? And so it's not really kicking down; it's really just kicking people out the door. And
that's a better way to say it. Yeah.
And there isn't we've had to reconcile so many different works that have influenced us, and had to create. We've had to accommodate so much talent in what they have said and done, so that we can still appreciate the stuff that they made before. And the idea of the fights that these artists and writers and companies are getting into, it's like there's no end to how much they can lose, because they have such a deep well that they are fighting against. And every single time that they put a word out, it's always going to come back negative. It's always going to be something that they're only going to lose people.
Yeah, and it's an odd thing else too, right? Don't you think, Bandito? Because it's like Alan Moore said it. He said, right now you guys are just squatting on the cultural stage. These characters who you're writing, they're not yours. None of this is yours. This empire wasn't built by you. And so it's just really, it's like this odd, like a few generations later, right? Like sort of forgetting when it was nothing. And it's it's really just a shame, and I have TV shows, multiple TV shows, in development at CW and at Warner Brothers, and this is a slaughterhouse over there right now. Like this once safe place where you were like financially protected, that's gone now.
It's gone.
that is as gone gets. I mean, so nobody's confused. The CW was acquired by a smaller company, with far less resources than the combination of both CBS and Warner Brothers. Far less resources.
Okay.
A syndication platform with some low budgeted reality programming. I mean, like all that effort in those fights, unfortunately, those shows. I mean, that's a non-thing. That's just it's just a non-thing now. It just
if they keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
If they keep doing what they're doing, I might be able to buy them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so confusing. And I think what's unfortunate is it's like you really had a great opportunity as this, the second, third generation people, dealing with these iconic characters to really, give back and really connect with people and say, hey, I'm not Bob Kane. I didn't do this, but I'm here as a chance to try and make this as open and as exciting for as many people as I can. And anyways, it's really just like, I'm just confused by it. Like, I don't know what's in this for you. Like, I'm confused. Anyways, but and whereas I feel like what's happening like on your stream with Bancroft's doing, like, it's a bunch of people just having a great time.
Yes,
and
it's
connecting, and like that has meaning. Like that's what this is about, right? You pick up this book, and it draws people together, and they have something to share, and these characters, and it's like, at least for me, that's what it's about. And because there's not Facebook money, there's not Amazon money sitting in this, anyways. If you're not trying to create that, I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out.
This community is welcoming, encouraging, and despite the fact that we are competitors, if you really get down to it, we want each other to succeed wildly. Sure. So like the fact that you're doing so well, that's awesome. I love it. I want to see more of it. I want to see Designated get to their goal and then some by a long ways. I definitely want to see all these things because it brings more. I know we've said it a million times, a rising tide raises all ships, but it's absolutely true because if your book and Mark's book both do super well, part of the fact that, I've got you on the show is a matter of support. And then, I've been on Mark's show before and those kinds of things feed on each other and we help each other succeed. And that's what's great about this community. It's a niche within a niche within a niche, but it's a great community of people who just want escapism entertainment without agenda. And we're doing so good at that we've got, literally, like you mentioned a little while ago, hundreds of books that we can be a part of producing. And it's an exciting time. I think it's a renaissance.
It totally is. It's
the Iron Age of comics.
It's the Wild Wild West in a great way, in just the best of ways. So, but so that's the Exiled. And this is hopefully my contribution in a positive way to the community, and because it's rad, and it's just a 15-day run. I guess we're now down to 14 days. It's your chance to get in. You can get the digital tier for $25 if you want that. The print tiers are $50, and it gets you the book, the cards, the bookmark, and the exclusive prints, and then $125 if you show that second video there. Dojo.
The second video?
Yeah, the second video. You can see the 125 tier gets you the manga size.
That's such a good
oversized book. Gets you the Forgotten Wars story, and it gets you this. And of course, mine's in Beijing right now because I sent it off because we're getting the injection mold built.
Okay.
But that's the one. But that's the figurine that comes with the veteran tier. If you play it, you can see it.
All right, let's do that.
And you don't need to hear my voice. It's me just gabbing away. But
why is it not playing? Oh, there we go.
I'm Adam Lawson. I'm Wes's co-creator and the writer on the book. And I wanted to show you this incredibly awesome figurine here. Pictures don't quite do it justice. You can see this prototype we had built. You can see all the detail on this guy here. See the cool weapon, the bone structure on his arm. It's really an impressive sight. And if you're a painter, you're going to want to make this your own. You can see this symbol here that will have meaning later. But it's really an impressive thing. You can see how huge this thing is. You can see it right next to my head. It's almost 6 inches. Really something I recommend you getting a tier that gets you this figurine. It's a pretty special thing and will only exist now.
Excellent. Now, I'd also like to show this. Now, you said this here, this trailer has Wes opening it up to talk about it, right?
That's right.
How long is this one?
This one, I think, is all 3 minutes altogether. So it's a little bit, but you could maybe just play the first part with Wes, and that'll get you into it. Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
You know, what I love about the comics is the fact that in the comic world, you can escape, you can fantasize, you can imagine yourself being something greater than you are now. And you all are very great. But this particular story is not like, you know, your gratuitous action and just a slasher, bang, kick, punch kind of story. This one, we wanted to have substance. We wanted to layer it with unpredictables, with things that you're not going to expect. I would say it's Seven meets Blade Runner. Story about a hardball detective pursuing a serial killer living in the shadow of his father. And in his pursuit, he uncovers some of the world's darkest secrets. So our character, Niles Roach, I think one of the beautiful things about this character is that he has the kind of instincts that drive him to find the truth. But sometimes it destroys the people around him. I figured I'd pull something from where I grew up in the Bronx, something I can really relate to. See, what's beautiful about this is that it's in book form. It's tactile. If you loved all of the stuff we did before in the Blade world, this is something that you're going to appreciate. We got murder, mayhem, noir cities, custom weapons, beautiful artwork, drama, suspense. Look forward to seeing you participating, joining us, take this ride, and here we go. As a man, you're defined by your father. You spend your whole life trying to crawl out from under his shadow. Mine died before I ever could. He didn't leave me his intellect, but he left me his instinct. A sense that triggers when things are not as they seem. Nagging at the back of my skull is getting louder.
Very cool.
Yes, that was well done.
Mm-hmm. And it's great to see Wesley. You're muted again, Adam. But it's great to see Wesley showing up on Frega's stream, and it's great to see him being a part of this. We've seen a couple other celebrity campaigns that have happened that they do a promo shoot for, and that's it. Right. But for Wesley to really interact, and you as well. I mean, like you definitely have the status where you don't have to come and hang out with everyone in the indie world. But
we gotta clamor for every backer. You know, we all gotta
push. And that hustle is appreciated. Like, it's good to see, right?
Yeah, so it's good to see. And I personally appreciate you coming on this channel. I appreciate Mark and Peter coming on to talk about Designated. This has been an awesome discussion about these two projects. I encourage those of you who are here live, thank you so much. I know we didn't interact much with the chat. We had so much to cover. I want to thank you all for being here. I see that there's Rick Saylor, Andy Contreras, Blue Samurai Zero is here.
Rick is the man.
Rick Saylor.
Jay Williams, Creators Outlet. I see Hockey was here. I don't know if he still is, but I really appreciate you guys all being here for the live show. And also, too, I want to say thanks to those of you who watched it on the replay. We are going to close it now. I want to say thanks again, you guys, for being here. I put your Twitter addresses in the description, as well as the links to these campaigns. So everybody go provide your support to these campaigns. And as we're going to go out, I'll play the trailer for Projectile Reptile. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Shed. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Hail and well met.
Infamous gunslinger Desmond Gibbons, better known across the Wild West as the Cactus Kid, comes to the sleepy town of Clarkson. Trouble finds him in the unlikeliest of sources, the sheriff. After their conflict, the Cactus Kid finds himself inexplicably wearing the badge of a lawman. Later, while on the trail of a serial killer, he and his deputy run afoul of a powerful druid, and the events that lead to the Cactus Kid's transformation into the hulking, four-armed projectile reptile are even more than the druid bargained for. From the Wild West to current-day Los Angeles, where he meets superheroes Black Eagle and Red Hawk, and forms an uneasy alliance with the stunning but deadly Kitty Hawk. Join the projectile reptile on a journey of gunslinging druidic magic, superheroes, and artifacts. Projectile Reptile from Dojo Kun Comics, only on Indiegogo. Are you ready for the truly Wild West?